Hello everybody, Ninja Mama here. Tonight I want to talk about a different breed of narcissist. Same animal, different breed. The workplace narcissist. I'm reading from an article I found on psychologytoday.com, 10 signs your boss or manager is a narcissist. And I'm going to leave a link to the article in the description box so you can check it out for yourself. But these are the 10 most common signs of a narcissistic boss. Number 1, insensitive to employees. A common sign of a narcissistic manager is casual disregard for the staff's reasonable feelings and needs. Unless you're one of his or her favorites, the narcissistic boss may often show indifference towards you as an individual. Whether you're overstretched with work issues, feeling ill, or just having a bad day, you're basically treated with a "so what, that's not my problem, you deal with it" attitude. A narcissistic manager may also exploit you without proper compensation or regard for your rights, such as scheduling overtime without extra pay, or expecting your vehicle for business use without reimbursing expenses. Number 2, uses you as an extension of his or her selfish agenda. Another prevalent sign of a narcissistic boss is her or his tendency to exploit you for his or her selfish needs above and beyond your job description. Examples may include, and I would say this is probably the most common one, running personal errands, taking on inappropriate chores, working on pet projects, or assuming part of his or her responsibilities, all without appropriate compensation or acknowledgement. Number 3, and this next one is, oh boy, this is really a pet peeve of mine, and even my ex-husband, and I mean, he's a level 8 malignant narcissist, and he is even bothered by this. Name and status droppers. Don't we all know and love these people? Some narcissistic managers have the habit of name and status dropping. They like to remind people of the important degree they possess, prestigious school they went to, exclusive groups they're a part of, VIPs they mingle with, high-profile projects they're working on, and glowing praise they receive from someone. They want to constantly appear important, with a blown-up and exaggerated sense of themselves. Certain narcissist offices are shrines of self-aggrandizement. Gold nameplate on the desk, multiple awards and trophies on the shelves, and walls plastered with credentials, certificates, recognitions, status photos, and images of heroic or adventurous achievements. While there's nothing inherently wrong with displaying one's accomplishments, the pathological narcissist tends to be in your face, and they overdo it. He or she wants to make sure that you're impressed. Except when you're onto their game, you're not really impressed. You're just kind of putting up with them. Number 4, and I would say this goes pretty much hand in hand with someone who is a name and status dropper. The spotlight hogger. They like to hear themselves talk very, very much. Many narcissistic managers love to be the center of attention and do so by dominating meetings, presentations, phone conferences, and email discussions. At these proceedings, they often like to remind people of their accomplishments and why their ideas and proposals deserve special consideration. Some narcissists will also take these opportunities to be disruptive and put others down. More on this below. They like to make themselves as powerful and influential as possible. This is like the type of narcissistic manager or boss that they're going to ask you what you think about something and then never let you get a complete thought out of your mouth. In fact, it is a rare occasion that you will be able to finish a sentence when speaking to this type of boss or manager or coworker. You won't be able to finish a paragraph, let alone a sentence, because they just have to be the one talking. And they're immature and impatient, so they don't have time to wait and listen to someone else speak. They have to, get all their thoughts out and not give the same consideration to others. Number 5, reluctant to give you credit. Some narcissistic bosses are extremely stingy with praise. They act as if offering recognition would diminish the narcissist's own star power. When they do give credit, it's usually under the context of his or her brilliant leadership and to advance his ambitious agendas further. They may praise you only when they want something from you, no matter how hard you work. If you're unimportant to them, they will simply use, ignore, and neglect you. If your good performance threatens the narcissist, she or he may do whatever it takes to take you down a notch. So your light, ability, and power will always shine less brightly than his or hers. Number 6, they steal or take disproportional credit. Certain narcissistic managers are notorious for pilfering their employees' ideas and hard work and either claim disproportional credit or steal the recognition outright. A complaint I hear from my private coaching clients is, I presented an idea to my manager and he immediately made it out to be his own. So in some cases, like, the employee may come up with a presentation or a certain idea, and the manager is going to get up there with them and they're going to present it as if they work together on the idea, on the project. Or in your worst case scenario, they're going to outright steal your idea and present it solely as their own and give the employee none of the credit. Number 7, they break the rules and ethical norms. I've certainly worked in workplaces where, I didn't work directly under them, but witnessed it happen. And I mean, just when you hear on some of the channels how they talk about just the unbelievable sense of entitlement that narcissists have, this is the type of narcissist they're talking about. And I'm talking about these types that are going to actually break the law and break ethical norms for their profession. I would even venture to say they're more on the sociopathic side of the narcissistic spectrum, or in the cluster B realm, they call it antisocial personality disorder. They really believe they're above the law. They can just take what they want, do what they want. They don't care what rules they break. They're going to get what they want, however they can. Whether it's falsifying records, embezzling money, falsely billing clients for work that they did not do, and overcharging, things of that nature. Some narcissists believe that they're entitled and special, and thus beyond precept. They're prone to taking shortcuts and taking large or small advantages of people and the system. This can range from abusing business expenses and falsifying productivity reports to concocting unethical marketing schemes and committing egregious white-collar crimes. Many narcissists think that they are above the law and should be exceptions to the rules. Number 8, sensitive to criticism, or blame others for their failings. Classic to the character style, a pathological narcissist is highly adverse to criticism. Negative feedback, even when reasonable and justified, threatens the narcissist's fragile sense of an idealized self and risks triggering narcissistic injury. Common responses to criticism include anger, pretend indifference, and excuses. In addition, many narcissists are highly adept at blaming others for their own shortcomings. It's always someone else's fault. Number 9, superior/inferior orientation. Many narcissistic managers are unable to relate to individuals as equals. They either take an inferior position and defer to those in higher positions, or a superior position and presume that they're in some ways better than you. For them, both the superior and inferior postures are calculated to sway you to give them what they want. Such is the purpose of relationships to them. They lack the empathy and humanity to treat people simply as equitable human beings. And what they mean, where they can switch to behaving as if they're superior to you or inferior to you, like in some cases, especially I'm thinking of the example where, like, they say sometimes the boss is pushing some of their responsibilities onto you. That would be a case where they're going to pretend to be inferior to you. Like, you're so much better at this than I am, or you have more of the technical skill with the software to get this done in a much more efficient manner than I can. And this is when, like, they may even flatter you, which all narcissists will use flattery to get things that they want. And a particularly lazy narcissistic boss will definitely do that. They will pretend to be incapable and inferior in order to get someone else to do their work for them. And then the same person, in interacting with someone else, will pretend to be superior to them. I would even guess, especially in that situation they were talking about where someone can possibly outshine them, like someone's maybe looking better than them, so then they're going to want to try and one-up that person and try and act superior in their presence. They're going to be less likely to flatter that person. This is the person they're going to try and take down a notch, as they mentioned in one of the previous characteristics. They're going to try and humiliate that person in front of the other coworkers, or in a meeting, or in front of a client, point out any little error. They can nitpick. They're especially going to do that when they see that somebody could potentially outshine them, because they see that, because, as they said, they have to be the center of attention. So if they're not the best and they're not the one that everyone's admiring, then if they see you as threatened, they automatically are going to see somebody who could outshine them as a threat. That's an immediate threat that could annihilate them, and so they're going to destroy that threat. Number 10, negative and toxic emotions. Some narcissistic bosses enjoy spreading and arousing negative emotions to gain attention, feel powerful, and keep you insecure and off balance. They are easily upset at any real or perceived slights or inattentiveness. They may throw a tantrum if you disagree with their views or fail to meet their expectations. Narcissists are often quick to judge, criticize, and ridicule. Some narcissists are emotionally abusive. By making you feel inferior, they boost their fragile ego and feel better about themselves. This, I mean, if you've got a manager, a supervisor, a boss, a coworker who's actually throwing adult temper tantrums in the office, I would say, I mean, this is just the lowest of the low as far as narcissistic behavior. This is a person who is so immature, so childlike in their mental development that they have little to no control over feelings of frustration when something doesn't go their way, or they can't get what they want, or they actually have to sit down and work hard and do their job. They're going to throw a temper tantrum just like a little kid. May even resort to insult throwing and name calling because they don't want to have to do what they don't want to have to do. And that's the only way I can think to describe it. It's childlike. If you're in a situation where you've actually got someone throwing temper tantrums on a regular basis in the workplace, I would say that is a situation you need to get yourself out of as soon as possible. Because if you've ever lived with a narcissist, you know how bad that can be. I certainly do. And you don't want to have to go sit in a workplace and deal with someone like that like 8 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? It's not good for your health. It's not good for your physical or your mental health to have to listen to that, deal with that, tiptoe around that person, especially if they're your immediate superior in the office. You don't want to have to deal with that. It's not worth it, I would say. So, how do you handle narcissistic bosses? I would say much in the same way you handle a narcissist at home. Gray rock can work very well, especially if you've got the kind of narcissistic boss that goes into rage fits, temper tantrums. You don't react. You keep your reaction as low-key as possible and as calm and even-keeled as possible. Because, of course, if you shout back, then you're going to look as bad as the narcissist does, especially in a workplace situation, because not everybody may know what your immediate supervisor or boss really is like, because they could only be seeing the facade, and you're the only one who's seeing the mask slip. And even still, I would say the main difference in dealing with a narcissistic boss, how it differs in dealing with a narcissist in the home, is that you're kind of on different sides of the equation. When you're living with a narcissist, and whether you're married to them or this is a member of your immediate family, you're pretty much getting the full force of their narcissism. You're getting the full Monty. They are giving you the true self. And then you're watching in disgust when you go out in public and they've got the mask up, and how fake and phony they are in front of other people, but you know the truth because you live with them. It's a little different in dealing with a workplace narcissist, because depending on how advanced they are as far as intellect, self-control, because some of them are very well controlled. Like, they can keep that mask up at work, and you're only going to catch like little glimpses here and there that's going to give you a clue as to what they're really like. Whereas if they're lower in their ability, lower on the maturity level, lower in their ability to control the behavior, you're going to see a lot more glimpses. They're going to let that mask slip a lot more because they just can't. They don't have the maturity and the self-control to keep it up. But even still, even with those people, you're still not getting the full effect as someone who lives with them. And even, especially if you're dealing with like a tantrum thrower in the office, you gotta wonder, I mean, if they got a family at home, if they're gonna behave this poorly in their workplace, how bad must it be in their home? You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. The only advice I can give is if you're dealing with a really narcissistic boss who's just making your life at work a living hell, the best thing to do is it's the same advice I would give for dealing with one at home. Make your plan, devise your exit strategy, and you get yourself out of that situation. It's not worth it. It's not worth your sanity. You got to get yourself out of it. And until you can get out, you can do, like I said, like Gory Rock. You can just, make sure you keep your nose clean, because if you got one of those ones who likes to point out all your mistakes, they're going to be on you like white on rice. They are going to nitpick and scrutinize everything you do and point out every little mistake. Or, God forbid, I mean, if you take a little extra time at lunch one day, they're going to find any excuse to point out something that you did wrong. So you got to be careful when you're dealing with these people, because if they've got any dirt on you, they're going to use it. If they see you as some kind of a threat, they're going to do what they have to destroy you, and they're going to sink lower than any low that a normal person would go to. So, I mean, you're not going to beat them. So the best thing that best advice I can give you in a workplace situation is just to get yourself out of there. Start looking for another job. It's just a job. You don't have to stay there forever. And I would even venture to say it's a lot easier to get out of a workplace situation, getting away from a narcissist in a workplace, than it's a lot quicker and easier and a lot less painful than getting out of a domestic situation with a narcissist. So that's, even better. If you've already dealt with getting out of a domestic situation from a narcissist, particularly if you've had to go through a divorce with a narcissist, getting away from a workplace narcissist is going to be a piece of cake compared to that. It'll be a walk in the park. So just stay positive, stay confident, stay calm as you can while you're still there until you find another job to go to, and just do whatever you got to do, whether it's put your earbuds in and listen to some nice, soft, relaxing music, whether it's meditating on your lunch break or just taking a walk just to get out away from the workplace for a little while and take a little break, get some fresh air and a change of scenery. That can help tremendously, to get you through until you find a better place to go. But yeah, I would say don't try to stick around. It's not worth it. No job is worth that. So, everybody, stay healthy, stay strong, stay positive, and thanks again for listening.